in this episode.
That's like The Descent.
Dude, I won't watch it.
The Descent, dude. Yeah,
I won't watch that movie.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would probably watch 120 Days of Sodom before I watched The Descent.
Welcome. You're listening to PaleoCheeze Podcast, episode 43, Top 5 Phobias.
Welcome back, everybody. My name is Jeremiah Bannister.
And I am Chad Lutzke.
And you're listening to PaleoCheeze Podcast. It is part of the Project Entertainment Network. And Chad, brother man, I have been anticipating this moment for weeks, dude. For weeks, because we started talking about this topic, these fears, these phobias, right?
Yeah.
And we went from number 10 through 6 because we would have gone for hours. Yeah. Yeah. And now we're going from what, 5 to 1.
5 to 1, yep.
5 to 1. And so
top 5, yep.
Yes, dude, top 5. And it's funny because we had some really great interviews. And if people haven't seen it, they should check them out, with Mr. Brandt and Jeremy Wagner and Jared.
Yeah, Jared Barbie.
Yes, Jared. I remembered because we had a really great conversation. And without going into any details about it, just to simply say that, he related to something that I said on the show about the loss of my daughter. And he didn't want to bring it up because he was like, I didn't want it to get really heavy, and your show seems like it's kind of, lighthearted. And I thought, you haven't seen our Paddleton episode or our empathy episode, or I mean, we have like 3 or 4 of these like really emotional episodes, dude, with Hightower.
Laura,
holy cow, bro. So yeah, that was a really cool thing, and we connected outside of outside the show. So we've had some really great interviews, but we're back, dude.
Yes.
We're
back. You and I hanging out.
Yeah, man.
Pillow fighting in the teepee. Does that make any sense at all?
In the wigwam, dude. Yeah, we got pillows.
Yeah. But yeah. So, but as usual, I do have a couple things.
Yeah.
I do have some shout outs, dude. I've been reading like a madman. When I've said this a lot in interviews and stuff where, if I, a lot of my peers, they're like, oh yeah, I read my first Stephen King book when I was 8. I read It when I was 8, or I read Salem's Lot. And I'm like, dang, man, you could.
Isn't it gigantic?
Huge.
Yeah. You're like, I read it when I was 8, and it's like, dude, that's a tome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like an encyclopedia.
So, and I didn't start reading books. I read my first novel when I was 24. So, between, I don't know, some form of undiagnosed ADD, or the fact that I wanted to be a musician or an artist, working in film, or I don't know what, girls, skateboarding, bands, these things kept me away from books. Not interested. So when that first year or two that I did start reading in my mid-20s, man, I consumed books, a lot of books. And I read for a while, and I've noticed that my reading habits have really kind of waned. But lately, I've just been making time, and yes, I'm kind of a slow reader. I do get easily distracted, but it's also mostly because I don't take the time. I don't set the time aside to read. And this time, I've read like 7 or 8 books this month.
Wow. Yeah, dude.
But I did want to mention 3 of the books that I did read just this past week. One was Snarl by John Bowden, whom we've had on here, and I wrote Out Behind the Barn with.
Yeah.
He wrote a book called Snarl. It has no publisher right now. It's amazing. It's John Bowden through and through. It's sad and it's gritty, and it's beautifully written. The dude's prose is, it's just poetic, man. Mm-hmm. And it's not something that you can turn your brain off. It slows you down. It slows me down. A reader like myself, who I like to just kind of read, very lean prose, straightforward stuff. I've always liked John's stuff, but his prose is just amazing, and you do have to kind of slow down a little bit when you're reading. And I can't remember if I mentioned this last week or not. Did I mention Tyler Jones's Criterion last week?
I don't recall you.
I don't think I did.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Well, anyway, I read, Tyler sent me a couple of his books. And I finally got around to reading this. It's called Criterion. It's a cool, druggy coming of age thing with an interesting allegory for addiction. I don't want to give anything away, but it was good. Tyler, I don't know him that well. I've seen him on some podcasts. He asked for a blurb actually recently because he digs my stuff. And I'll tell you what, I after seeing him on a couple of podcasts, this guy is awesome, and we have to get him on the show.
What's his last name?
Jones, Tyler Jones. And he is such a cool dude. And it would be difficult for me to find someone that I know, whether in real life or online, who is more except for maybe you, Jeremiah, who has more passion in them than this guy. It's ridiculous. He is just such a kind-hearted dude. And when you
take that as a big compliment, and I'll say that must be a really big compliment for him.
We're gonna get him on here.
Yeah,
I want to get him on here,
dude. We must.
I'm just trying to think of a cool topic that we can have, so something that will make him go off, and so that everybody can see what a great guy he is. Because and I hope he's listening, because Tyler, he's amazing. But also, I found out that he was in a Tooth and Nail band.
What?
And, the name escapes me. The name of his band, I can't remember. But he played guitar in a band that was on the Tooth and Nail label.
That's going to drive me bonkers, bro.
Back in the day. And he's told me before what the name of the band was. And if we pause for a second, I can actually go look in my messages, because we did discuss it once. Okay, I found it. You found it before I did, Jeremiah. It is called 7 Places.
7 Places. They
toured with a band called Amberline, as well as 1,000 Foot Crutch, which I've heard of them before.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said the guitar player for Poor Old Lou produced their album.
Dude, that guy...
Aaron.
What? Yes, dude, he's one of my favorite. He's one of those guys that a lot of people, they don't know who he is, but his what is it, Rose Blossom Punch? I think it was the name of one of his albums, or one of his bands. Dude, just amazing. I mean, just through the roof, man. I always liked him, and I liked the guitars for Love Coma, but most people remember him from his more popped out days when he played for Sixpence None the Richer. But when he played with Love Coma, it was quirky, weird, edgy, alternative music, and I loved the style and the sound of that. And I liked Sixpence, their early stuff, even before they kind of got popular with Kiss Me and all that stuff. But that's awesome, man. That he was. We need to get this guy on, man.
Yeah.
Tyler, there's no doubt about it.
If you're listening, Tyler, I'm definitely going to be getting a hold of you.
Yes.
About that. So,
yes.
And then the other book I read is a book that I have been wanting to get to for a long time. It's by Mr. Jack Ketchum. It's called Off Season, and most people who read horror are familiar with this one. It was his first book he ever put out. It's pretty brutal, man. It's real brutal, and I read it in like 3 days, man. It was good. I love Jack Ketchum. In my top 3. I think I've said it before. I have a top 3 that's all tied for first. They're all first place. So, and he's one of them.
Yeah.
And I wish he were alive, because he would 100% be on here. He would come in here. Talk with us.
Dude, I don't allow myself to skip ahead with books, and so I find myself stalled out sometimes because of my schedule or things I do outside of PaleoCheeze. Yeah. And so I'm trudging through different books right now, but we just got a box of books, volumes 1 through 10, right? 1 through 16, maybe. Cause I think there's like 3 more or something like that. I forget how many we got. We got a whole bunch of them, but they're manga. And I've never read a manga book before. I've never read one, but this one is inspired a cartoon. Well, it's anime series called Vampire Night. And it is by far the most dramatic show I've ever seen in my life. It always ends up on these ridiculous cliffhangers that you're like, okay, next one. There's only 2 seasons of it. So I think there were like 13 episodes per season or something like that. And so we just barreled through these 2 seasons. Again, that's the second time I've done it in my life. And I remembered how much I loved it. But I'd never read any of the books. And it's funny because my kids, they're like, yeah, Vampire Night, it's about, a day class and a night class, and the night class are like vampires or something. Like, sounds really girly. Like, they just thought it and they thought, oh, this kind of looks like a girl show. I'm like, guys, believe me. Like, this is like one of those really super dramatic things that it's like, I think there's a lot of dudes that watch this, and so they loved it, and they were super sad that it ended. But apparently they ran out of source material at the time, and they have not had any new source material since then. And they were saying that it was a really sad thing, and they didn't know if it would ever get rebooted or anything. And then that was like 8 months ago. And then 3 months ago, a surprise thing happened that the author has released a new book and another Vampire Night to continue this story. And so there's at least they are the assembling of source material is happening. And so it's at least kind of on the horizon. So anyone who likes Vampire Night, they might be glad to hear that. But we have a whole bunch of these books now. And as I said, I've never read manga before.
Okay, so let's get into the phobias.
We got to do this, dude.
I got my thing up here. So we're gonna go with number
5.
If you want to hear this, I think it was episode 39, the top phobias. And this is and
they have to, because it was awesome. I mean, didn't we say that too? Like, after it was over, we're like, dude, that episode was awesome. Like, that was a really fun conversation.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I think they're all good, but I don't know, man. I think that episode will always stand out a little bit to me. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, one other thing I almost forgot. I'm very bummed right now this weekend because tons of my friends are at Scares That Care right now.
Oh, yeah.
Mingling, selling books, networking, hanging out all weekend. Hunter Shea's there, Jason Brandt, Jack Campese. As a matter of fact, Hunter Shea, Jack Campese, they've been buddies for 25 years or so. They're meeting Jason Brandt for the first time today. So, and we, Jason had told us off camera what he's doing, and we can talk about it now. How Hunter had, one of the reasons why he's there is to promote his Bigfoot in the Bronx, and among many other books that he's written. But and that he rented that Bigfoot costume for Jason to wear because Jason's 6'2" or whatever he said.
Yeah,
and I thought
he said 6'4".
He may have said that. Yeah, he may. Yeah,
he's a tall man. Let's put it that way. Dude is real tall because his lady's tall too.
They posted some pictures and I've seen it. I've seen Jason wearing the Bigfoot costume next to Hunter.
Yeah, man.
That Scares That Care. So I'm super jealous.
It would be fun to be there, man. It'd be fun.
And what reminded me of that was fear number 5. It's called Aerophobia, the fear of flying.
Yeah, dude. For real.
A lot of people flew to this thing. I am not a flyer. I have flown. Excuse me. I flew once when I was real young with my mom. And then I flew a couple times years later. And both times I flew, first time had to get drunk.
Yeah.
Second time had to get really stoned.
Oh, I couldn't do that. No way. Be high? Weed? Yeah. No way. No way, man. My heart would be racing.
I definitely preferred alcohol for that trip.
Yeah.
I didn't have any. That was my go-to, but I didn't have any.
The airport didn't have any.
Didn't have weed.
It had weed, but it didn't have alcohol.
No. I had.
You had it. Okay, yeah, I got you now. You're like it had weed. They were selling weed at the airport, but they had no liquor. I'm like, well, what kind of airport you going to?
For listeners who are new, this is the old me.
Rasta Airlines. That's Chad's airline of choice. It's Rasta Airlines. Rasta International.
we were going from Notre Dame to Jamaica.
Yeah. Man.
Or Amsterdam. Yeah. So no, yeah, I'm not into flying, man. I'm not into flying. It's not a fear of flying, it's claustrophobia. So, but the fear of flying, person may have severe anxiety in a plane. This may be due to bad flight-related experience in the past, such as extreme turbulence or even witnessing a crash on TV, or just because what the frick, we're in the air.
Yeah.
Miles in the air and I'm in a tube.
Yeah, totally.
It could just be from that.
Yeah.
Having kind of like common sense.
It's weird because I like being by the window and I like looking out, but they always put me by the wing, and the wings are always wobbly.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're always wobbling and it's always freaking me out. And then I bet you half the times I've been on a plane, it's been at night. So everyone's sleeping. Mm-hmm. And I remember one year, one time I was on a plane and I had my journal out and I'm writing and just lashing out at these people sleeping, just writing about how can they possibly do this? Like, we're up in this plane. I'm just running through all the scenarios and thinking, how could they possibly sleep? Like, there's just no way. But what does it benefit you if you aren't? Like, I'm awake and freaking out right now. And so, alcohol has always been my friend with flying. And so, I'll go to the bar and I'll buy a couple drinks or something, or I'll buy a drink on the plane or whatever. I'm not trashed, but I mean, I'm relaxed, and that's how I can do it. And I'm afraid of heights, dude, in general. So being up in a plane, I'll take a train any day.
But when you're that high, does that even come into play? That's not really a height thing anymore now, is it?
It's overshadowed by the lack of control. Yeah. Like, I guess if you're high up on a ladder, there's a certain degree of lack of control too, or on the top of a house or something. That's really scary. But if I was on the runway and I can look down and right there's the ground, I'm not scared. If we're barely above the runway, not scared. If we're above the clouds, right? And I'm looking at the top of some clouds, all of a sudden, the old freakometer is going up to through the roof. So above the clouds. And so that's where I think the fear of heights plays into that. Mm-hmm. But I think some of it's lack of control, like in a car. Because they'll say, well, statistically, you're more likely to get in a really severe car accident.
For sure.
And I say, but at least I control the car. Yeah. There's whether placebo or whatever, the idea that you're somehow in control, whereas you're at the behest of some rando, in the cockpit.
Yeah. I could fly comfortably if I knew at any second, all I would have to do is push a button and we would land.
Why don't they have that? Like, why? No, not the land, but even the parachutes and stuff, instead of the huff really hard on this oxygen mask. Like, what's up with that? Why don't you would just think that there would be more training kind of required, even if you don't get out very well and you jump and you pull it too soon or you pull it too late or whatever, you had a chance, Whereas if you're just like huffing on that thing, it's like Fight Club, dude. It's to make you as calm as a Hindu cow kind of thing. And so it's like, you're going down, but look at all the people smiling. And I don't know. To me, it weirds me out, bro. But yes, I definitely aerophobia. I relate to that.
Okay, so number 4,
yes.
Acrophobia.
Fear of acrobats.
Yes.
Is it serious?
Terrified, especially when they're juggling.
Well, I mean, are you serious? Is that really the?
No. Yeah, dude, that's the number. Okay, the number 4 fear.
Fear of acrobats. I'm like, dude, did I not get the memo or what?
It's the fear of heights, my man. the fear that you have.
Come
you don't even know your own
It's
fears.
Acrophobia. That's who came up with that? That sounds stupid.
Acrophobia. Well, being acrobats, maybe acro means doing stunts in the air. I don't know.
It's probably Latin, and it's actually probably really intelligent, and I sound really dumb saying what I just said. But you know what? I get that way when I should know what this is, and I don't. But
I never had that except for one time. Right here it says it's a dangerous condition that can affect a person even when they are climbing stairs or a ladder. The fear may be so extreme that the person may not be able to move, and it may be difficult to rescue them. I remember helping paint the Friends Church in the Friends Church youth group building. I'm sure you've been there. It's a tall building.
I was there when they were doing that. I was young. I was much younger, but my dad was friends with the youth pastor there, Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly. Yeah. Well, it's a tall building, man.
Yes.
It's got the real tall staircase that goes up. So it's like a 2-story building, and then you've got the peak of the roof. Well, I was on the roof, and this was my first experience of being like, and I realized, and I experienced that kind of like frozen terror. I had to kind of talk myself out of it and be like, dude, can you really not move right now? But that was the first time that I'd ever experienced it. And I grew up climbing trees like way high, which is different because if you fall, you usually have stuff breaking your fall. I've seen my friend fall from a pretty far height, and he hit many things on the way down. But and I remember feeling like couldn't move. And it's weird because now that I'm older, I don't know if it's because I'm afraid I'm gonna break my hip or whatever. Even when I get on a step ladder, dude, I am so careful about it. Like
breaking your hip, dude.
Yeah, if I gotta get the crock pot down from the way up or whatever, I'm like, I gotta get the step ladder out, man, dude. I'm so careful because I won't break my hip, man.
Dude, I hate heights, and I had weird experiences. We went to what was it, Sears Tower, and you get to, if I remember right, it was the Sears Tower where we got to go up, and you're in kind of this area looking out. Dude, I was maybe 10 feet away from the glass. I didn't even want to get close. Yeah, I hated being on what is it, man? Carousel. Yeah, I hated it. It's not a carousel.
Ferris wheel.
Yeah, not a carousel. Yeah, Ferris wheel. And so terrified of that. I was terrified. We went to the Grand Canyon. My sister is the kind of person, like she is a certified survivalist. She was. So she would take people out for weeks at a time where they don't see civilization at all. They just are out, in the mountains and everything. So she knows how to climb mountains and rappel and go spelunking and all that stuff. And so she knows how to do it. Well, since she was a kid, she had no fear of heights. So we were at Grand Canyon, and she's sitting there, and she sat down, or it was either the Grand Canyon or I forget the other place we went to, where it's got this these kind of plateaus, and you look down, and it's kind of crazy looking down below. It's got a whole bunch of these ravines and everything. And she's just sitting there, just with her legs dangling over the side, wiggling her legs, kind of kicking them like playfully and stuff, like a kid on a swing. And I'm 15 feet away, and I'm like, Crystal, stop doing that. like, please get away from there. I think it's probably prudent to say get away from there. However, I said it from like a long ways away. I have like a megaphone to do it. But I have gotten over one thing, and I'll say one more thing. I tried doing rock climbing. Not rock climbing. When you're at the when you're practice your wall climbing, right? You're doing that. Yeah. So I was at this place, and I'm climbing the wall, and my kids would do it. My daughter used to do it, and she'd ring the little bell up high and everything. And they've got 3 different levels, and the kids were like, you should do that. You go do that. You got a harness and everything. You got a bungee and everything, So I'm going up, man, and I bet you I made it 80%. And I don't even know what it was that did this to me, but dude, my legs were like spaghetti noodles, like wet spaghetti noodles. Mm-hmm. And my kids are like, are you okay? And I'm like, why? And they're like, what's wrong with your legs? Kind of thing. And I look down, and I see my legs just going nuts, dude. Like, I mean, the fear. Mm-hmm. And then I looked up at the bell. I was 5 feet. I mean, maybe 3 pulls, grab something, pull, grab something, ring the bell.
You physically couldn't do it.
Physically couldn't do it. In fact, I was scared because I was frozen. But I did get over one kind of fear of heights. And it's weird because now I love it. And that's roller coasters. I used to be so scared of roller coasters. I'd wait in line for an hour and a half, practically, pissing my pants, waiting as I'm getting closer. And then right as it's my turn to get on, I'm like, I got to go to the bathroom, and I'd leave. I was so scared. I didn't want to get on. And the only ride I rode at Cedar Point for a long time was the Iron Dragon, because you're entirely in a little capsule thing,
Yeah.
And it's not very big.
You got the padded bars that go over your.
Yeah. So you're inside this thing, And so I'd go on that over and over and over and over. And that scared the living crap out of me too. Well, one year we got there before everybody else. And my dad, he said, Jeremiah, we're going to go on the Magnum first. And that's back when the Magnum at the time was the tallest and fastest metal roller coaster in the world. They had the Magnum and the Mean Streak, which was the tallest and fastest wooden roller coaster in the world at the time.
Yeah. I've been on both. Yeah.
Yep. And I said, I am not going on the Magnum. I looked at it off in the distance, and you could see it looks like it goes down and backward. It's so far down. It's more than straight. It's like it goes, but it goes back a little bit. You're like, oh no. And you're hearing screaming and stuff. And it's, 8 a.m. or something like that. And I said, no way. And he said, Jeremiah, look, he's like, if you can do this, then you can do any roller coaster in the entire place, because you've done the scariest one first. But if you don't, you may never ride this one. And you may not ride hardly any of the other ones. And so I did. And it was absolutely terrifying going up, because it's that little.
Dude. Click, anticipation, click. Dude. Yeah.
And I'm like on the edge looking down, and people look like the size of ants and stuff. And I'm just, every scenario of how that thing could break or I could fly off and die is rushing through my head. And then we're going down, and I'm totally scared out of my mind. And all of a sudden it was like, once we got down that first hill, in fact, even halfway down the first hill, I was okay. And my heart was racing. I'm freaking out, but it was enjoyable. And when it was over, I felt this enormous amount of pride. Like I'd won the Olympics, dude. I'm like, I did it. Yeah. And that day I went on every of the tallest ones I could find, went on the Magnum a second time. And ever since, I've never been afraid to go, although I have watched videos of different things across the world that I would be afraid to do. I think some of the fear of heights, acrophobia, and now that I know that word, I can feel fancy. Acrophobia is reasonable. Like, I think there are some phobias, some fears that are like unreasonable fears.
Yeah, like I was saying, like the fear of flying. I mean, here they're saying that some people have it because they've been in extreme turbulence or because they've witnessed a crash on TV. And I'm like, well, how about just because you're doing something very unnatural? Yeah. You're way up in if you do crash, it's death, Yeah,
right.
I mean, we've all been in a car accident. And most of the time they turn out fine. You're okay.
I know the girl, there's back, I think it was in the 80s or early 90s, there was a girl in a plane crash, and she was the only survivor, this little girl. She was friends with me on Facebook. We haven't talked in a long time. But it really messed with her, and being the only person, her family died, or everybody in the plane, everybody. And she was the only person. And I don't even know what kind of injuries she incurred at all. Other than lifelong scars, you know what I mean? Like, because that's really going to mess you up.
Yeah.
But I'm a train guy, dude. I'll take a train. I love trains.
Trains are a blast.
Yes, they're a lot of fun.
I've taken them a handful of times. 23-hour trips, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's fun. You get up, walk around. Yeah. Make out with chicks.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that's
what I did. That's what I did on my second train ride.
Smoking cigarettes on planes, making out with chicks on trains. Yeah. Man, dude, you're doing good. You're doing good. Yeah. So, all right, number 3, man.
Number 3 is Brontophobia. This is the fear of thunder and thunderstorms. Yeah. Such people know that thunder cannot harm them, but they are still worried about going out.
I'm not afraid of thunderstorms, but I am afraid of lightning.
I'm not afraid of lightning don't think more than like your average person. Like if it's going nuts and it's close by and I'm by my window, I start to get a little paranoid.
Oh, I don't like it at all.
But dude, I love thunderstorms.
Yeah.
As long as the sky doesn't turn yellow or green, then I love it. I love rain, period.
Me too.
I'm scared to death of tornadoes.
Me too. That's the most recurring symbol of nightmares that I have are tornadoes. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, big time.
I mean, we've had them here in Michigan, in Battle Creek, but they're always so that no one ever dies from them. They don't wipe out any section of the city. They wipe out a house here or there.
Yeah.
Or the last one we had took tons of trees down, took half of Kimball Pines out.
Yep.
But they seem to
hit the bowling alley, took the roof off the bowling alley over at Knockies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, we had a tornado that hit our neighborhood out in Ceresco and then hit another neighborhood near Ceresco. And when it hit our place, I think we had some eaves trough damage or something. Somebody got some of the roof torn off, but not to where you could see in the house, just like ripped shingles and part of wood up. But there was a house there. It was the only house on the block that was up for sale, and it tore the whole entire back of the house off.
Yeah.
And nobody ever saw the tornado. So there was always this speculation about, well, we didn't really have a tornado. But everybody in Ceresco was like, screw you, man. Go look at our neighborhood. Look at all these trees and look at that freaking house that's only half there now.
Dude, I know what you're talking about. I don't believe that, if I remember right, and I might be wrong, because there was a tornado, because I think there was a tornado that hit the roller rink too. But one year where there was extensive damage done, that year, or that event was a microburst. And I looked it up as we were talking, because I was like, I've experienced this. A microburst is a localized column of sinking air, a downdraft, within a thunderstorm, and it's usually less than or equal to 2.5 miles in diameter. Microbursts can cause extensive damage at the surface, and in some cases can be life-threatening. My cousin was driving home with a buddy. He lived at our house, and he was driving home, and this microburst, I was wondering, I'm like, man, I thought it was going to be a tornado because it was so crazy outside. Mm-hmm. And I look out, and it looked on the lake, because we lived on a private lake, and out in the lake, it looked like, if there were 100 birds and they're all flapping their wings at the same time on the lake, but it was moving across the lake. Mm-hmm. But there was no tornado. Like, I'm looking up, there's no tornado, but I'm seeing this crazy thing happen in the lake, and it's moving, dude. This thing's moving. It's like really affecting the water badly. Well, next thing I know, my cousin gets there, and the guy who was in the car with him was crying. He was so scared. Mm-hmm. Their car lifted up off the ground. Mm-hmm. It was like, and when it landed back down, it swerved, and he had to try to get it back in gear and stuff. And they were so terrified. My cousin said, Jeremiah, he's like, you don't even know, dude, what that feels like. He's like, that is the craziest feeling. He's like, but we couldn't see anything. Mm-hmm. But then that year, the cemetery was just obliterated, and there were trees up in Bedford. So people who aren't familiar with the area, 10 minutes away, from our home, and it was just the trees snapped in half, huge trees. And that year there was a guy, I don't know if he died, but I know he was in like a lazy boy or something, and he got whipped out of his house or something, mm-hmm. And got injured. And so microbursts are not a joke. Microbursts are not a joke.
This was an 82 or 83.
Okay, so that may have been a tornado, right? Yeah, I wouldn't have known that.
But yeah, nevertheless, it was crazy. I mean, we were all, nobody, as far as I knew, in our neighborhood was like out watching it. But it was a weird time, because you go out and your whole neighborhood is, your whole neighborhood now there's the calm now, yeah. And the sky is just, everything that's green is super brilliant green. That happens after a storm anyway, but exceptionally so this time, because the way the sky was, it was still yellow. Everything, there was giant trees uprooted, and that we ended up building forts out of and stuff later, and just craziness. And when we had when Kimball Pines got destroyed, and then I think some another area in Lakeview and Waddles Park was hit pretty good. And this was like maybe I want to say like 7 or 8 years ago when I lived on Summer Street, and we were, the sirens went off and everything. We ran downstairs. My family went down the stairs first. I was doing something upstairs. I can't remember what it was, but I was like because dude, when we are told, when the siren goes off and we look at the sky and it's green or yellow or something like that, not that this happens.
You run, dude. You get to shelter like now.
Dude, I instantly can't think. I know I need to grab certain things. Like I need to grab water or some water. I need to or grab whatever. Dude, I can't think. So I pace around.
You're putting in a pot pie.
Like I'm looking for something.
You're putting in a pot pie in the microwave. You're like, I'm gonna cook a pot pie real quick. I'll be down a Hot Pocket.
No, but my family was down there, and then I went down there, and we've got I don't know if you remember our house on Summer Street, but when you go downstairs, it has like a landing. So you go down like 3 stairs, turn, and there's landing. Well, at that landing is a door, and it was just one of those doors that if you hit it hard enough, you could put your fist through, but it was it was like a hollow door, and it had like plexiglass there and stuff, but the lock didn't work very well. Like it wasn't sturdy. Like if you wanted to like break into the house or break out of the house and you didn't want to unlock the door, all you had to do was try real hard to pull on the door, and because the door didn't meet up as well as it should, the jam there on the threshold of the door, or whatever it's called, and so it wouldn't stay in there as much. And I didn't know this, but this was when the tornado or whatever was happening. But just as I was booking around that landing, this giant pine tree in our neighbor's yard fell down and went and crashed like on the side of our house. And I heard it. For the life of me, maybe God saved my life from being thrown down them stairs, but for whatever reason, the branches from this giant pine tree didn't even open this weak door that I was, it was to my back.
Wow. Yeah.
So I just turned the landing. I heard this like that and had no idea it was a tree.
Yeah.
And then, but it was because it was freaking loud outside.
Yeah.
Ran downstairs. And then when it went, when it blew over or whatever, went outside and I saw that the neighbor didn't have a tree anymore. And it had crushed our privacy fence, and it was in, but I was like, wow, I can't believe that door didn't come flying open. And then just send me, because when that door went flying open, dude, it had knocked me down them stairs really fast, or put a hole right through my back with the doorknob.
Dude, it's weird because this is actually, it's funny because I relate to fears associated with storms that often involve thunder, but the thunder itself is not normally what scares me. If it's late at night and it's like so loud, it's rumbling the whole house and it comes out of nowhere, then I'm startled, but I'm not scared of thunder,
right?
And so, but lightning, I mean, dude, I'll put on an aqua suit. I'll hide in a tire, I'll do whatever I got to do. I'm going to survive this, guys. And so, wrap myself in a big, rubber blanket or something.
Just stay inside.
Dude, but see, this is where the phobia really kicks in, because I've watched documentaries about things where like the kid who was riding his bike and it was a clear sunny day and he got struck by lightning on a clear day, and they were talking about how that happened. And I'm like, people can joke about it and say, well, that's statistically improbable, and say, tell it to that guy. Right? Like that guy is like, I know it's worse. Or the dude who's been struck by lightning like 10 times or whatever, and he started carrying around a bucket of water, which I think is dumb. I'm like, why would you do that? I'm like, seriously, like you should not do that. But the thing is, I can always fall back on that. And that is, it's hard to escape the fear when you can say, well, yeah, it's unpredictable though. So yeah, it might be 1 in a million. That's true. But at the same time, I knew of people, because I used to golf all the time. I knew of people who were struck by lightning. I knew of someone at the golf course who died. Right? It struck a tree. They got under the tree because it was storming. So they got under the tree, and the tree got struck by lightning. And so, because of the unpredictable nature of it, and because of the sheer power of it, and how fast it is, but I'm also fascinated. I like watching stuff about it where where you see the scars and stuff and the way the cells react to it, how it's like fractals and everything. I've always found that really fascinating. So even though I'm afraid of that, I've still found it one of the most fascinating things, not only to learn about, but even to draw, or take pictures of. But yet I'm terrified of that.
Yeah. Well, tornadoes, when you watch videos on YouTube and stuff, to me, there's nothing more scary or intimidating than seeing like a well-developed tornado.
Yeah.
Like in the Kansas or Texas plains or whatever, in Oklahoma, and it's just like open field, and this thing is just cruising through, and there's debris everywhere. It's like freaking Cthulhu, man. It's like the elder gods coming for you. Okay, number 2. You want to make any guesses?
They're common.
I tell you what, it's an umbrella term. It says for different phobias within this classification of phobia.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'd say the dark, but that's not I can't imagine it being like a major classification.
Zoophobia, which you can.
Yeah. Okay. Zoophobia. My first answer was going to be sharks.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is an umbrella term that involves extreme fear of certain animals. Arachnophobia.
Yep.
Is fear of spiders. Ornithophobia is the fear of birds, and Ophidiophobia is the fear of snakes, and Apophobia means the fear of bees.
Yeah.
If I was allergic to bees, that'd be my number one fear on the planet. If you're like deathly allergic to bees, I feel sorry.
Yeah.
But birds, spiders, snakes. I don't have a fear of birds or bees or snakes. I mean, excluding like a rattler. If you're in a situation where there's a rattler and it's clearly going to strike, I mean, who isn't going to be afraid of that? But I'm not afraid of spiders. I wouldn't say I have arachnophobia. I don't want one crawling on me, but when I met my wife, she owned 2 tarantulas, and we got our first apartment together. Once in a while, one would get out, in order to get out, the way that we had it situated, the tank situated, it had to crawl on us to get anywhere.
Yeah.
And so that we'd wake up in the morning sometimes knowing that this tarantula was crawling on us at some point in the night. It was a little unsettling.
Bro.
But one died, and then the other one, I think we had to get rid of because she, people can start to I mean, she would let it crawl. We would let it crawl on us, and she wasn't afraid of these things at all. But then, you can develop like allergies to things that you were never allergic to before. And she started developing an allergy, and they have, if you ever seen
spiders, an allergy to spiders,
tarantulas.
To tarantulas, sometimes, dude, it's a blessing in disguise. It's probably good.
Well, they have, tarantulas. They have those hairs. And have you ever seen a tarantula that has like, where sometimes their abdomen, which is people think is their body, it's their abdomen. It's covered in hair. But if you ever look at a tarantula who has like basically a giant bald patch, it's because that tarantula is living in like a stressful environment, whether it be from the owner or whatever, wherever it's living. And it's because part of their defense mechanism is to like if something is sniffing around them, or if they're fear for their life, is to really fast brush one of their back legs against their abdomen, and it sends all these fiberglass like hairs that will irritate your sinuses. And so if a dog is sniffing around or whatever, and they do that, and then this dog breathes all these essentially fiberglass and into their nasal passages. Well, my wife, these hairs can get on you. And it's not like these tarantulas were in the habit of doing that. Once in a while they would do it, like when we'd go to grab one and get them out of there. Sometimes they flick the hair around to, tell us to stop. They never bit us. But one time she ended up going to the hospital because her throat swelled up a little bit and she's got hives. She had gotten hives before when holding them, but it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah.
This time it started to be a big deal. And it was like, oh, wow, she's definitely becoming allergic where she wasn't before. So it was strange. So we got rid of that. We got rid of that one. Mexican red leg.
That's good. Get rid of them. Yeah.
I'll tell you who's got arachnophobia is our friend Scott Webb. To the point where one time, I think it was at work. I was at work. He was home, single at the time, and he called my wife to come over to kill a spider for him. That was
dude, I know.
Yeah, he didn't want nothing. I think he can handle it now, but at the time, he wouldn't even try to kill one by himself.
Dude, that reminds me, it's way different, but the idea of calling somebody because you can't handle it. My dad was watching me when I was a baby, and I pooped in my diaper. I was real little. So it's not a pooping my pants story. Yeah. It was a diaper, dude. I was really little. And but it was at that place where, you're getting more fibers and stuff, and it's not like the seedy poop that you get when breastfeeding milk and stuff, breast milk.
You remember the details of your own experience?
No, my dad does vividly.
Okay.
And my dad, dude, so my dad has this gag reflex with poopy diapers. And he's by himself with me, just the two of us. And I'm sitting there and he lays me down and he's trying to deal with this. And he said he opened it up and it was just super fibrous, super gross. And he's like, this is terrible. And the smell, he said, was so bad. He was gagging so badly. He's like puking. And he had to call his neighbor. And he's like, you got to come over real fast. I need your help with something. Come over as fast as you can. So he looks out the window, man. The neighbor's walking down, has no clue, gets there. And my dad, he's like, what's going on, Tim? Are you okay? He's like, I need your help, man. He's like, Jeremiah pooped in his diaper. I can't do this. The guy's like, what? Why would you do that? But I've never called anybody to help with a spider, although I have cried like a little wuss. Not cried, but freaked out where I'm like moving stuff, trying to find where this spider went and stuff and moving the bed and all that. I used to be like that. I'm not anymore. But if I see a spider, I am very not happy about that.
It depends on how much hair it is. Like if it's one of those, like if it's bulbous and it doesn't have any hair on it at all that you can see with the naked eye, I don't like those. Like the big black and yellow,
like brown spiders. Recluses and stuff.
No, of course we should all be afraid of those.
Well, I know, but I'm saying,
no,
yeah.
like the shell, like a hard shelly type,
Yeah.
Not like wolf spiders or recluse or something like that. I mean, obviously we should be. I mean, we got them here in Michigan. You don't want to be messing with those. But like the garden spider, where the abdomens are humongous, and they sit in or I think they're also called orb weavers. But the jumping spiders, they don't bother me at all, man. If one landed on my arm, it ain't no big deal.
They're cute. I've become a little bit. I wouldn't go that far, but I would say
those little black jumping spiders with like the either green,
not adorable,
white dots. Dude,
not adorable. No,
I've had those as pets, and as a matter of fact,
pets.
Yeah, when I was younger, I would put them in a jar. Just this year,
oh, dude,
Mary and I were thinking we should get one of those like jumping spider pets. And next time we see them, sure enough, we're in our bedroom. There's one in our window that faces the lake, and we grabbed him and put him in a jar, put some stuff in there.
I think there's a Bible verse somewhere, dude, saying, thou shalt not have spiders as pets. I don't know, there's something, dude. It just seems very unnatural. But like, I've gotten better about it because I had the house when I was renting the house that my mom owned, and it was by the lake. There was a wall there right by the back entryway, that would be completely covered. I mean, they I don't know why they were attracted to that particular siding, but there were tons of them. But I realized that as much as I disliked them, they just hung out there. And they helped me with something that I disliked even worse, because they're more of a nuisance. And that is mosquitoes. I really don't like them buggers. I don't like that when I hear the sound in a room. I'm on it, man. I'm like a bat. Like my ears, I'm full blown sonar, dude. I'm wondering where are these things? I'm going to get it. I'm going to kill that thing. And so I realized, well, they help with that. And so once I realized that it's kind of, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so I wouldn't say that they were my friend, but they were a strange bedfellow at that house. And so,
well, then what you need to do is you need to keep the spiders on the outside to deal with the mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And then get yourself some house centipedes and put them in your house to get rid of the spiders, because they get rid of spiders.
Really?
Do you know what a house centipede is, dude?
No, but I don't like centipedes.
Dude. All right.
Wait,
we're gonna pause again. I'm gonna send him a picture.
Yeah.
Put a bunch of those in your house. Let them crawl up on the walls and across your carpet.
No. No, dude. I do not think so. That is not happening, man.
Dude, they are, when you see them, they are fast too, and they got so many legs that move so fast.
Why are you showing me this? Okay, wouldn't that be included, do you think, in the list of zoophobia, like with these things, right? People for whatever reason, people aren't aware of them, or they think they're called silverfish, or they haven't seen them. I didn't see
silverfish. I didn't see my first one until Mary and I rented an apartment like 30 years ago, and one was crawling across the floor, and we're like, what the? And I killed that sucker so fast. And then now that we live on the lake for the last 4 or 5 years, we see them all the time, mainly in the basement, like stuck to the wall or crawling across the carpet.
No. I
mean, I've only seen one this year, I think, on the carpet up here. But yeah, in the summer, I mean, we get tons of spiders being right on the lake, tons of them.
Yeah.
Not so much in the house. I mean, we get those little lime green looking ones, but outside they're everywhere.
So are we on number 2 or are we on number 1?
That was number 2. Zoophobia.
Dude, so we're on number 1.
We are on number 1.
Oh. And it's going to be worse than spiders, dude.
You got to be able to guess what it is at this point. Yeah, I mean, number 1, and it hasn't been mentioned yet.
It's either the dark or deep water.
Number 1 fear, the most popular fear.
The dark.
That people have.
The dark.
I mean, that is a good.
The fear of death.
No, the dark is actually a good guess. No.
Yeah. What is it?
This one is my biggest phobia.
I don't know.
Claustrophobia.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not so claustrophobic that I can't like get into a tent or something like that, or, but dude, no. When I think of some of these jobs that people have, like being an astronaut, or like you being in a submarine when you were in the Navy.
Dude,
No way.
Yeah. Well, I never made it into the submarines. But that's what I chose. I chose to do this,
See, I just think I mean, God bless those people. We need them, but I think they're nuts. I need people, dude, or like the people who do the like, that go into caves to rescue, unlike the rescuing.
No, man, kids. The soccer team. Remember that?
Or the ones where they had to spend literally like, what was it, 6 or 8 hours going just one way. Most of that being underwater in tiny little.
Have you watched the videos of them doing that?
Dude, I won't watch stuff like
that. That is so nerve-wracking.
No, dude,
to see the way they're doing that. I've had 2 situations where I was scared that I got stuck. One situation, and both of them were pretty bad. One was worse than the other. The first one was, I had this waterbed that was kind of like up a little higher off the ground. Mm-hmm. And so it had the drawers underneath it. And
dude, you are like, so far, everything you're saying, if you're headed where I think you are, this is like, it's like mocking my experience, but go ahead, because it involves a bed with drawers underneath.
And there was where the headboard was, there was a little passageway, and if you crawled in there was a little hole that you could go under the bed between the wall and the drawers.
Dude.
And I made a fort.
Dude.
Yeah, I even had pictures
this
in there.
This is
my
story.
Yeah. Well, then you tell that one because I got another one. You tell yours, and I'll just. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a bed that wasn't a water bed, but it had drawers, so it sat up high off the ground.
Yeah.
But it was like the drawers only went halfway under the bed, so on the other side was just this giant gap.
Yep.
And so I would go under there, and it was a fort. And I hung a couple pictures up there. I hung a TV guide with all my Saturday morning cartoon listings. And my mom even let me keep a black and white TV under there. And I had a pillow and like blanket, and it would be like my little fort. Yeah. Well, I went under there all the time. But dude, one day I tried to get out and I got pinned between the wall and the bed. Yeah. And I lost my mind, dude. And I was struggling and I was freaking out. And it triggered something in me that from that point on, I became claustrophobic. I wasn't before that, but my mom thinks that it originated, but then eventually was buried until I got trapped behind the bed like that, or between the bed and the wall. My mom had someone babysitting me when I was really young. I was like 2 years old or something. And when she came to pick me up from the babysitter says, "Oh yeah, hang on, I'll go get him." She walks into the next room, opens a closet, and I'm just covered in sweat and tears. And I'm like, the closet wasn't locked because I was too short to reach the knob. I couldn't get out if I wanted to. And this woman had put me in this closet forever. And I just was screaming and crying and full of just sweat and all red and teary. My mom was pissed.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I never went back to that babysitter again. But
yeah,
I don't know what I did to deserve that. But my mom thinks that
is messed up, bro.
Stemmed from that. Yeah.
So in the closet for how long?
A long time. I don't know.
Holy cow, dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's like another level. That's horror stuff. I mean, that's creepy. And I mean, what kind of psychology is going on with that babysitter, you know? Kind of weird junk in that brain. But you know, you can only imagine. But I got stuck like that because I would go down, I would draw, I'd play, I had G.I. Joes and these figures, these little pink rubbery looking characters called Muscle Men.
Yeah.
And I used to play with them guys and stuff. And I'd have my radio down there. So I'd listen to radio, or I'd record an episode of Batman and Robin, the old TV show. And I would record the audio, and I'd listen to it and stuff and just play the toys or draw. But I got too big, and I started noticing it because it was harder for me to like lay down and feel comfortable down there. And so I tried to get out, and I got pinned, and dude, I was really scared. And but I got out, and then we made this underground fort. We had my friend, his dad worked for the city. And so when they switched over to these metal signs, these, you know, street signs and stuff, or on the highway, letting you know that another, you know, I-94 is coming up. They used to be wood, a lot of these. And so they would take the old ones down that were made of wood, and they would replace them with metal. Well, he had all this scrap of these big signs and stuff. And so we decided to build an underground fort. It's just a big square. And it was probably 4 feet deep because you couldn't stand up all the way. You know, like you could bend over, but you had to be hunched over pretty hard. And we were stupid. We had a little shelf that we could put a candle in there, you know, because it's just dirt. I mean, it's dirt, but it was a wood ceiling. We covered it with leaves, and we had a small stop sign that we used as the little hatch. And we figured out a way to an adhesive with that so that we could put leaves and stuff on top of that, so you wouldn't even know that it was there. And we would go down there, we'd have a flashlight or whatever. Well, then it got kind of boring after a while because you're just, you know, in the ground. So we decided we're going to expand. So we built like 4 or 5 different little areas, and each one had a little tunnel leading to that area. Well, over time, you know, the dirt's falling down. And so, you know, the tunnels are corroding and all this stuff, and it's starting to kind of get in an angle. Well, dude, I was there. I had a friend, but my friend wasn't inside. He was doing something. He was a ways away at a different fort, above ground fort, doing something. And I tried crawling through, and I got stuck. And it was dark in there, And I don't know if we even told our parents we had that place. And so I know that, you know, it probably at worst, it would have been like 2 days that I was there. But dude, I had no light anymore. I could not see. I'm trapped. I cannot squeeze out of this. I'm trying to manipulate my body. It took me, I think, 15 minutes of trying to maneuver my body to get out of that. And I never went back in again. That was the end of it. I not even to the main area. Said nope. I was so scared of that because of the whole situation. And it was years later I went, and the fort was still there. It was all caved in different areas, and one of the roofs kind of collapsed and stuff. But that was so terrifying to me. But other than that, you know, I think the only real claustrophobia I ever have, because I don't have it hardly ever, is if I am in a room with a bunch of people and my back is against, like sometimes it's if there's a lot of people in the room and my back's against the wall, I'm claustrophobic. Like if I'm sitting down eating at a restaurant and the place is really, really, really packed. But if there's not a lot of people, then I like to be against the wall so that I can see who comes in and who comes out. Mm-hmm. But if there's too many, and I'll panic. My heart starts racing. I feel that heightened sense of existence where everything is heightened in your mind and you're like, ugh, and you're wondering what's going on. And you start to panic. But that's been years ago that I had that. And most of the time, all I have to do is just step outside. But then when I go back in, I don't want to sit in that same spot.
I had an episode at a concert. I just remembered once. I went to a concert and it was in the middle of the summer. I think it was like July, I think. And it was really, really hot out. And I watched the first band on the floor, like 10 feet from the stage. And it was Metallica. They were the opening band. And it was when Cliff Burton was still alive. This is in the 80s. And I mean, it wasn't a huge place. The place held, I think there was like almost 4,000 people there. So it wasn't like 40,000 people or something. Yeah. But it was still hot, dark, really cramped in. I don't know if you've ever been up to the front like that at a concert, but it's
yes.
Yeah, you're not. I mean, you can literally fall asleep and no one would know. Like you could die and everyone would still be holding you up. And I was with my girlfriend. I bought us both tickets and shirts and stuff and took us there. And dude, as soon as Metallica got done and the lights came on and I kind of looked around and saw the people, I was like, hey, let's go sit down for Ozzy, because he was opening for Ozzy, actually. The Metallica was opening for Ozzy. I was like, let's go sit down. And so we ended up sitting down for the rest of that. But yeah, dude, like the cave shows or I can't even look at pictures of, I mean, I can look at pictures of caves, but if I'm looking at pictures of caves or I see a scene in like a documentary or something where some dude is like really trying to squeeze through a small hole and to get in deeper into a cave, no, dude, I get really freaked out. I mean, technically,
that's like The Descent.
Dude, I won't watch it.
The Descent, dude. Yeah,
I won't watch that movie.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would probably watch 120 Days of Sodom before I watched The Descent. Yeah, man. I'm not down with that, and I don't. There are certain things that occupations
I'm not down with that.
Like miners, dude. That occupation, the dudes get in the elevator and it's like how do you? It's like these people are missing. Either they're missing something in their brain that I have, or I have too much of what I shouldn't have because I'm thinking too hard about it. I don't know.
That's when you double up the fears and you say, what about those tunnels that go down that are like tubes with a ladder and you're descending into darkness? That's the heights and the darkness and the claustrophobia all in one. Or if you're climbing up kind of one of those same kind of almost
and someone's dropping spiders down it.
Oh yeah, thanks. Yeah. Somebody's up there with a bag of spiders, and they're like, "We got it from Chad. Chad's friends with them." So we took his pets, and so they're throwing the spiders down. Yeah, dude, no, I don't think so. So that the list was good, but I will say this, man. The fear that I would add to that I have that is debilitating to me, or at least it still is, but I rarely find myself in a situation where it matters anymore, is fear of water that I cannot see the bottom.
Yeah.
So if I'm in a pool, I don't care. I love diving. I love all that stuff. I'll be the guy that goes down to the bottom to grab something in an Olympic sized pool. Yeah. I like doing that. See how far I can get down. But if I'm in a lake and they're tubing or whatever, because we used to do that all the time.
What if it's in a pool at night?
When I was a kid, we went to Vegas and I wanted to swim so badly because I love swimming. And I went out there and I could have gone in, but when I got in there, for some reason, I have this thing as a kid where I would think that in the shadows could be something like a shark, even though I knew that a shark could not live.
It's such a good thing that you didn't see Jaws back then, because
I was already afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was already terrified. And I had nightmares, recurring nightmares. That's the second most recurring theme, is water that's murky, that's getting higher and higher. I can't see the bottom of the floor, and a shark is in the water. That is that second most recurring theme. And so to me, the idea of being in a lake, I would go tubing, and I still do to this day. If I go, because I don't want to, my nieces and nephews are like, Uncle Jeremiah, you need to get on the tube now. It's your turn. And I'm seeing these little kids doing it. I'm like, I better do this. So I'll get on there, dude. I'm the best tuber in the universe. If Olympic Games had tubing, I would be the gold medalist.
You're letting go.
I'm not letting go. They're like, he's ferocious. They're like, this guy. And I've learned, I'm like, weight distribution, angles, everything. I'm like, and I'm taking it very seriously. White knuckled, man. I'm all arthritic now because of how tightly I was holding those rings and stuff. But I just, I won't let go. And I especially don't like it if there's seaweed. So if there's seaweed on the ground and my feet are in it, the feeling of it. And so I'll go in pools all day long. I will go to a lake like Lake Michigan, but a lot of people will go out further where they can't feel the bottom. I don't do it. Like I'm just not the guy to go swimming out very far. But I'm an excellent swimmer. It has nothing to do with my ability to swim. And I know it's irrational. I know that,
I remember experiencing something like that before, like going on this rope swing somewhere where there was gravel pits, and we would often go at night, and you just swing out and you'd splash in this, like, essentially this large pond, and you couldn't see anything at all. And could barely see which direction you need to swim back to wherever to do it again, where your friends were. But, and then, in lakes and stuff like that. But I always it was like every time that would strike me, I would just be kind of like fight through it. Kind of like the same way, like, let's say you're in a dark basement and you're walking up the stairs.
Yeah, no.
Many of us, but instinct would be like to run, and you have to actually fight to walk. And so,
do you still peek over your shoulder?
Me, no.
I do. I still peek over my shoulder. I'm like, is there something behind me?
As a matter of fact, when I'm faced with doing that, I usually go even slower up the stairs.
Really?
Yeah, just because I know nothing's behind me and I need to fight through this. So
you're rubbing my face in this, Chad. You're
oh no.
No, I do. I'm better at it. I don't run up the stairs anymore, but I know that I'm not over it because I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
And so, the idea, like at my grandma's house, she had the stairs where there's like a gap between the stairs, the old wooden ones where somebody could be under it and reach out. Yeah. And so I was terrified going down the stairs. I was terrified going up. And the most recent time I had that was when I watched my nephew. He has a video game show. I think I mentioned this. It's that AKA Manto or whatever, Manto. I don't know how to pronounce it. But dude, that game, like, I want to do a review where I play that game at like 3 a.m. by myself because I would be so scared. But I also know that when I watched him playing it, I was so scared that when I eventually did go upstairs, my heart was racing, and I was like, I walked up, I got far enough that I felt accomplished. And as I turn, I kind of, my head kind of turns, and I just get a peek out of the corner, and I'm like, I failed. I did not win. I did not win. And so, but I would have added those, but those are, those aren't as common. I mean, claustrophobia is way more common. And so other than the dark, that's a common one.
Very.
You know, yeah. But dude, this was fun, man. This was the coolest list I think we've done so far.
Do you?
Yeah. And I liked the one about the movies. I liked the one about the music. I thought that was really cool. The Thanksgiving one we did. And people can go back and they can listen. Those are really fun. But this one, I was hoping you wouldn't bring that up, Chad. I don't know what you're talking about. And neither does anyone else, because I think there's like 3 people who watched it. So they're like, no. Yeah.
We'll delete it. No one will ever know it even exists.
Yeah, no one will know. There's like 3 people, and you know that's their favorite episode. Right now, they're like, why don't they like that? That was such a good one. Jeremiah, you're really good at this. Oh, man. I love our listeners, dude. All 3 of them. I love them. And I know that they're smiling right now. So, but this was a lot of fun, dude. I always have a fun time with you. And so,
yeah, man. I'm so tired all of a sudden. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of all the adrenaline's been coursing through my thinking about caves and all this stuff. And then it's like, now I'm crashing.
Yeah, you got to go watch The Descent now. You got to do it.
Yeah.
You got to watch it by yourself. All righty. Well, dude. Yeah. So how can people get in touch with us, man?
They can email us at our Gmail account, which is PaleoCheeze with a Z as in zebra. PaleoCheeze at gmail.com. You can type that into Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and we have pages for all 3 of those. You can reach out to us with anything, whether it be a question you want to ask us or a comment that you want to give us to validate our existence, to help us sleep at night and fight the stare demons.
Yeah.
To keep the recurring dreams at bay.
So, all right. Well, hey, that's how you can get in touch with us. If you do, we'll make sure to reply to you as well. Oftentimes, and by oftentimes, I mean, literally, I think every time that we've ever had somebody email us, we always make sure to say something about it. So make sure to hit us up at Gmail or on any of the social media platforms. Send us a DM. Make sure to tag us and share it with all your friends, especially your moms. Moms love the show, right? They think it's a great show. They love me and Chad. All the moms have always loved us. And so share it with them, and you'll be glad you did. So, all right, Chad, it's been a lot of fun, my friend.
Yes. Good night.
Good night, buddy.